Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of my NASCAR broadcast problem series. In episode 1, I pointed out how today's TV broadcasts feature more conversations than play-by-play. In episode 2, I showed many clear examples of the booth announcers sounding bored, especially compared to the reporters on pit road. Today we're going to tie all this together and take a look at how these and other problems have a detrimental effect on the broadcast as a whole. But before I get started, I need to clear up some misconceptions these last 2 episodes have created. To be clear, I have never been in a broadcast booth. What I have done is spoken and written on the subject of NASCAR broadcasting for years. The subject of these videos is not a new problem, nor am I a new viewer. I've been covering races in person for nearly a decade, and before that, I spent 4 years cobbling together videos for every single NASCAR Cup Series race, including montages that use the broadcasts, and each year I found it harder to extract good sound bites. I know when it comes to NASCAR, it's become acceptable to dismiss the thoughts of some guy over 35 with more opinions than hair, but this stereotype is not going to keep me from speaking out. YouTube is no shortage of critics. Many are singularly focused on movies, or on one movie in particular. Mahler, whose work I do recommend checking out, link in the description, has just recently released part 4 of a 6-part series dissecting Star Wars: The Force Awakens. In it, he presents an objective analysis of the film, bringing to light issues with the writing, and how each flaw had a direct effect on the quality of the final product. So comprehensive is his analysis that these 4 parts alone combine into 12 hours of running time. I do believe something similar can and indeed should be done with the way in which a NASCAR race is broadcast on television. I'm not sure how objective I can be, but I do think it won't take half a day either. Unlike Mahler's work, we're not dealing with a work of fiction, so we're not talking about writing. With live broadcasting, we must instead examine the conscious decisions that are and are not being made, and their effect on how a race is portrayed. I'd even go as far as saying criticism is more important here. For film criticism, no amount of it will ever change the movie being discussed. The thing is finished. But broadcasting a sport is a regular occurrence. What we learn from one broadcast can help improve the next one. But if I had confidence this was already happening, frankly, I wouldn't be making this video. Also, contrary to what some of my detractors say, I do not believe that something old is automatically good. I don't believe that something new is automatically bad. And I certainly don't believe that things will never improve. For those of you who think these glasses are rose-tinted, let me remind you that my longest and most popular video describes the 2000 Winston Cup season as a year of complacency and slow decision-making that led to the deaths of 5 drivers. The past was just as flawed as the present. What I do take exception to is the belief that progress can only be made by shunning the past. When talking about the craft of play-by-play, you have to consult old footage. You have to. It's not pointless nostalgia. It is a tool, just like a football coach breaking down the plays from a previous game. History is instructive. You can learn from it, distill lessons from past experiences, and apply those lessons to the present day and your own life. In fact, you should do this. That's the purpose of history, of research, and of debate. So today, yes, I am going to show you more footage from 2005 and earlier, and yes, I am going to use that footage to complain more about that garbage broadcast from this year's XFINITY race at Atlanta. So sit back, relax, and for those of you in the back, I will happily explain in great detail how useful the past can be. Some of you have questioned why I'm even bothering to do this. The majority of you recommend simply muting the TV and listening to the radio. I don't accept that as a solution, and the fact is neither should you. First of all, there's a simple issue of syncing the radio with the footage. Second, muting the TV isn't going to do anything to make the TV commentary any better. And if your gripe is with the camera work, well, guess what? That won't change either. As Mike Joy pointed out, this is a separate issue that has nothing to do with the folks in the booth. And third, it should sadden us that this is even considered as an option, given the proud and unique history of television broadcasting completely separate from radio, not just in NASCAR, but in all sports. A TV broadcast is not a redundancy. Great broadcasting matched with perfect camera work and graphics can make an ordinary moment interesting, or an exciting moment downright legendary. Here are some examples.
3 wide, the backstretch. 21-year-old Jeff Gordon down to the inside, going for the lead at turn 3.
There's Bill Elliott right in behind him. Earlier in the week, they told Jeff Gordon to lay back and learn, but here he comes.
And Kyle Petty didn't want any of that three-abreast racing. He's back there at three-abreast, but he backed off going into that turn. Who's going to lead this first lap?
Down the line, lap 1. Gordon from Pittsburgh, Indiana. The kid that blew him away on Thursday comes back and leads the first lap.
First off, from a talent standpoint, Ken Squire jumps on Gordon's bid for the lead, reminding us how young and inexperienced Gordon is at the time. It's almost as if Squire knows how great Gordon will become in that moment, even in just his second career start. It's exceptional what Gordon is doing, and it's appropriate for it to be focused on so much. But that doesn't mean all 3 of the guys in the booth need to do this. I'm talking to you, NBC. Ned Jarrett and Neil Bonnet, also in the booth, describe what's happening with other drivers behind Gordon, recognizing that a race involves many things happening to many drivers at the same time. This directs the viewer to watch as much of the action as possible, which adds to the excitement. Each may be describing something the other 2 aren't seeing, or that the viewers aren't even paying attention to. This is further made easy by the director. Just 7 camera shots are used, each showing as many cars as possible for as long as possible, so we can follow the action along with them.
5 cars at the front.
Here he goes.
Here goes Gordon to the outside.
Is Junior going to go with him in the 8 car? Trying to make his mind up. He's going to stay with Tony Stewart. He's going to stay on the rear bumper of that 20 car.
Kurt Busch stays to the bottom. Will Jimmy Johnson help his teammate or try to get to the front on the inside?
I believe for this race, if I was Jimmy Johnson, I'd go to the outside.
Look at Junior. He slams up to the outside. He's going to take the lead with 5 laps to go.
Unbelievable. For the first time today, Dale Earnhardt Jr. leads the 500, but not for long. Here comes Stewart and a big pack on the bottom.
Boy, Junior should have dove to the bottom and closed that door up. He had the pass made.
Let's see if he can get that run off turn 2. Jeff Gordon in the 24th trying to push him. It's a drag race down the backstretch.
Oh, Jeff Gordon's car is just not performing right now like Junior's is. Tony should be a set duck. He's got 3 great cars on the outside. There's Jeff giving Junior a push. Can he push him to the lead?
This is where he got the good run a while ago, coming off turn 4. Jeff Gordon in the 24 trying to push him.
Oh, smoker in the middle.
That's a fender rub. It's just a little fender rub back in there. I saw it earlier.
At the line, Stewart by half a car length. 4 laps to go.
Man, you can get up there even with that other guy, but you just can't get the pass made. Or can you? Yes, he made it.
Go to the bottom now. He'll slam the door.
He made it.
And this crowd is on their feet going wild.
What a pass. Way to go, Junebug.
This is easily my favorite moment from NASCAR on Fox. Mike Joy, DW, and Larry Mack are all equally strong here. All of them are intensely focused on the action, and each builds on what the other says. As he should be, Joy is clearly the leader in the booth, just like Ken Squire in the last clip. But what he does even better is builds on what the other 2 bring to his attention. The director is also batting 1,000 here. Onboard shots are used sparingly in favor of shots that show as many cars as possible jockeying for position. We don't miss a thing. Even the shot of the crowd on the backstretch sweeps down to the side-by-side stalemate at the front that everyone's responding to. Just like the clip from 1993, you know just from the audio alone that you are witnessing something exceptional, and there are many drivers with a role to play. Now, I know some of you think these are only good because they're from the Daytona 500. Of course they're excited, especially since 1993 showed the start and 2005 showed the finish. Surely the other parts of the broadcast aren't exciting. Okay, well let's take a look at a July race at Daytona. And let me do you one better. Let's go to a July race where the cars haven't even rolled onto the track yet.
Jeff Gordon's stars sparkling like the nighttime sky on the 4th of July. He exploded into victory lane at Texas. Jeff has 9 top 10s. Disappointing finishes at Michigan and California have not slowed this unshakable driver or his committed crew. Jeff Burton is ready to join the long line of famous names that have won at Daytona.
Michael Waltrip has quietly done his job this year. After driveline problems dropped him from a potential top 5 finish here in February, Waltrip has steadily climbed from 32nd to 9th in the points. He starts 8th today and thinks he has the car capable of finally carrying him to victory lane in a NASCAR Winston Cup points race. Looking for a man with momentum? I give you Ted Musgrave. A 6th place finish in Pocono got him rolling. He didn't follow that up with consecutive top 5s at Michigan and California. Today, he returns to a 2-year-old superspeedway car. A car that carried him to 4th, 5th, and 7th place finishes in 3 of his last 5 Daytona starts.
Bobby Labonte brings hustle, heart, and his dry sense of humor to every race. What he has yet to take away is a win. He starts 12th. He's 7th in points despite 5 finishes of 20th or worse. Today, Bobby shoots for his 5th top 5 of the season and career win number 5.
Jeremy Mayfield has been the man on the move this past month with 2 consecutive top 5s and an average finish of 8. He has rocketed from 17th to 10th in the Winston Cup point standings over the last 4 races. Today, he pilots the same Ford that carried him to a 6th place finish here in February. You know, with a few breaks and a little luck, Mayfield just may win.
Check that out. 1 minute and 36 seconds, and ESPN's pit reporters just told you everything you need to know about 5 drivers to watch in the Pepsi 400, complete with some creative camera work to show off each car. Most importantly, these drivers aren't just brought up at random. We get the full context of these drivers' steady improvement throughout the season. As a viewer, you may never have thought to watch these drivers, but now you have reason to. I don't care that we all have racingreference.info and can pull these stats ourselves. It plays entirely different when the broadcast crew does their homework and uses their unique access to the drivers and teams to make that information come alive. This is how to lay the foundation for storylines, both within the race and from one race to the next, which encourages a never miss a lap mentality from your audience. And that music, my kingdom, for some decent instrumentals. All 3 of these clips are from different years, with different broadcast crews on different networks, yet all of them are the same in terms of why they work. The commentary is engaging, exciting, and 100% focused on the action, whether it is what we're seeing, what we're about to see. Most critically, we're not just told everything is exciting, we're given a reason to be excited. Each bit of commentary is also responsive to how thrilling the action becomes. Only the big moments are reasons for shouting, and even those shouts are given the right dose of context. The net effect of all this is we are given a ton of information that is directly relevant to what we're seeing. But this never gets to be too much, because this information coincides so perfectly with the action. In the words of Red Letter Media, you may not notice it, but your brain did. When I say that today's broadcasts just aren't up to this level, I am not referring to the on-track product in isolation. I am referring to how the race is portrayed on TV. This is not about who the drivers are or the quality of the racing. It's what the broadcast does to bring attention to each. I am referring to what the camera is showing you and what the commentators are telling you. If you don't think these elements are important, think again. Take away both and you don't even have a broadcast. A bad broadcast distracts the viewer from the action. A good one doesn't, and a great one elevates it. Among the current crop of NASCAR's play-by-play announcers, there is no one better than Mike Joy.
Boy, Reddick with a good drive off on the outside. No advantage there. Kyle Busch roughs him up just a little bit. They stack up at the back of the pack as Reddick tries to get the lead. Nothing there.
When it comes to play-by-play, it's not enough to simply describe the action. You have to be invested, like you're tracking the trajectory of an incoming missile. Investment is what breeds excitement. Of today's group, no one does this better than Joy.
So we talked about the green light. We hear from pit road that is when, because some teams are having trouble wondering if they're getting all the fuel in, and Cole Custer had to come in twice because his car wasn't taking on fuel. The green light is when they know they have enough fuel left to get to the end of this stage.
One of the biggest challenges a broadcaster can face is when a race isn't particularly interesting. The recent Cup race at Martinsville was a perfect example. There, Joy worked overtime to find storylines to discuss, to make for a better experience for the viewers.
And on the outside, Kyle Busch, the first car that just took tires, in 10th place. Behind him, Elliott, Harvick, Jones, and Buescher, and Bubba Wallace, all with fresh rubber.
The other is when something serious happens. Joy was leading the call when both Dale Earnhardt and Ryan Newman's accidents occurred in the Daytona 500. In each case, nearly 2 decades apart, he handled the situation with the care it deserved.
I tried to get both Larry and Darrell to concentrate on the win, on victory lane, on analyzing the race and what had happened, while I tried to piece together all the information we had so that we didn't say the wrong thing But we also didn't go away leaving people to think that everything was all right.
We're jubilant for the Waltrips, and our prayers are with the Earnhardt family. John?
Yes, he can get silly with the other guys in the booth, but that's a privilege that is earned after doing your job well for so long as he has.
How long do you think it takes a John Smoltz fastball from when it leaves his fingers to when it gets to the batter?
2.5 seconds.
Faster. I'm under.
A third of a second.
What? 2.5 seconds? That's if you throw it.
I thought it was a lot further.
I think I could call a game if it was 2.5 seconds. And here comes the pitch.
Now let's compare his work to the others. Like Mike Joy, Vince Welch was a pit reporter before he did play-by-play. He seems most comfortable touring the garage.
But Chip, just before, Chip, what was the message you gave to your team today before coming out for this championship battle?
Well, to the team you say one thing, and to Dario, he knows what to do. But, you know, to the team, it's the keystone in our season. We're going to put the keystone in right here today.
Thanks, Chip.
But for whatever reason, that skill has not transferred to his current role as a play-by-play announcer for NASCAR's Camping World Truck Series.
John Hunter Nemechek and Cole Custer. They're wrecking and spinning, coming to the line. Who is it going to be? Side by side through the grass.
The problem with his delivery is this bizarre grunt he does, as if he's trying to impersonate someone else.
Gus Dean driving for Timmy Hill and the Hill brothers this weekend.
Make Mari go.
Oh, and their teammates are colliding.
This added effort doesn't translate into good calls. It makes him sound like he's struggling to find the right words.
Through 3 and 4, who's going to win it at the Dirt Derby?
This is particularly evident when the race is at its most exciting. Welch has the unfortunate habit of botching more than his share of finishes.
Here comes Thorsport.
Half on 4. There's
Ben
two behind
Rhodes
him here.
in third or in second, trying to go to the outside of
One back
Nemechek.
down. One back.
But it's going to be Chandler Smith or Corey Heim. Corey Heim wins at Atlanta. Just what Chastain needed. He needed Gilliland to come up and delay Eckes and take the position, and he's done it. And now Friesen into the back end of Eckes is going to spin Christian Eckes. The final lap of the race, and it's still green. Ross Chastain is going to come around. Racing redemption at his hands. The wheel for Ross Chastain is still and perfect, and he has done it.
Rick Allen, who now does the second half of the Cup Series calendar for NBC, covered the Truck Series before Vince Welch. During this time, he produced some fantastic calls along the way.
Here he goes. He makes contact. David Starr keeps him straight. They're side by side. Three wide down the backstretch. Donnie Lee out in front. Todd Bodine down on the bottom. As they come out of 4, Donnie Leah has the edge. Donnie Leah will win at Mansfield.
Allen has a more traditional radio voice, closer to Mike Joy than Vince Welch, and he also looks the part. His move to NBC was met with a lot of excitement because of this. The problem with Rick Allen today is he doesn't stand out enough from his co-hosts, who are each fighting him to do the play-by-play themselves.
Denny Hamlin gets the 22 just a little upset. The 22 up out of the racetrack here. Denny goes to the middle.
See what everybody else does with Logano. Everybody going to the middle.
And now Chase Elliott to the lead. He jumps in front of the 4 car.
Rather than using his voice and presence to take a leadership role in the booth, he comes off like a third wheel.
William Byron out in front of the field. Here comes Larson once again.
A great battle for the lead.
This contributes to NBC's well-earned reputation for broadcasts where everyone's shouting all the time.
We got more cars coming in.
William Byron is reporting that the curb came up. He hit the curb in the 24. Yeah, the curbing is coming up, and that's what everyone hit when they were coming through there in turn 6.
This leads us to the fourth member of this group, who leads the NASCAR XFINITY Series broadcast for FS1, Adam Alexander. Like both Vince Welch and Rick Allen, Alexander used to do some good calls as the play-by-play guy for TNT.
There they go. Clint Boyer pulls out a line. Harvick pushes into the lead. Kane coming through. Here comes Kurt Busch. They freight train Jeff Gordon. Off of turn 4, they'll get the white flag this time.
Today, Alexander takes on the added challenge of broadcasting alongside a rotating group of active drivers. For example, at Atlanta, he was paired with Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski. And while he does seem to genuinely enjoy doing this...
From up here at home. I wondered why you said that. And now we know the rest of the story.
By the end of the night, we're going to say, and back on the lead lap.
Fine, I don't know.
Maybe. I think to get to the lead, yes. We really showed him how to do it that one time.
Yeah, one time at band camp.
He never seems nearly as excited to actually call the action.
Coming off of turn 4, through the tri-oval, and back to the white flag.
Tops, make it.
1 lap to go.
One back,
Sponsored by
back.
Credit One Bank. Next flag will end the race. The caution
to
or the
bottom.
checker. Advantage for Custer out front, 1.5 seconds. So he's cruising right now. But behind him, anybody's guess on the finishing order of the stage. Allgaier, Gregson, Allmendinger, Hemrick, and we mentioned Brandon Jones.
With Adam Alexander, the good is as clear as the bad. For one thing, he absolutely knows his stuff, particularly when it comes to the drivers and teams. Much like in the 3 classic clips played earlier in this video, he's capable of conveying this information in an interesting and efficient way. Even in the Atlanta broadcast, there were examples of this.
48 is Jade Buford. Give a call to that race team. 2nd year full-time. Gone through a considerable amount of growth. Buford, a great road racer, no doubt looking forward to next weekend's race when we get to run Circuit of the Americas COTA in Austin, Texas. And so is the guy out front, A.J. Allmendinger, so good at road racing, got his first oval win in NASCAR right here at Atlanta Motor Speedway a couple of years ago, and he's got the field in tow this afternoon.
See how much information he gave us there? He mentions Jade Buford by name, indicates he's running for a new team that is outperforming, and then ties it in with race leader A.J. Allmendinger to promote the upcoming race at Circuit of the Americas. Perfect. Here's another one from the same race.
You know, we've had some cycles on strategy, but let's give credit where credit is due. We talked about Jade Buford. Right behind him, teammates, Tommy Joe Martin's in the 45, and Sage Karam. Karam is a noted IndyCar driver, won the Indy Lights Championship. He finished 7th in the Indy 500 last May. He wants to make the move full-time to NASCAR. I'd say runs like today will help his cause, the first of what will be likely 10 starts for Tommy Joe Martins and Alpha Prime Racing this season.
Fantastic. We got a great profile on Sage Karam, what his current schedule is, what his plans are, how he wants to make the jump to stock car racing, and makes us excited to see how well he's doing. He even ties it in with the upcoming Indy 500, showing respect between different series. That's excellent. But like Vince Welch and Rick Allen, the problem arises when Alexander describes the action itself. He tends to speak in broad, languid phrases. It's like he's trying to tell you a story in the most careful way possible. It's not a terrible approach. After all, broadcasting is storytelling, but his pace is not conducive to a sport like NASCAR.
Final lap, stage 2. Can't say enough about Jade Buford, who's hanging in there. The guys from Alpha Prime. Is Brandon Brown in position to pounce?
What does Daniel Hemrick do here? Does he just follow his teammate to the stage win, or does he make a move?
I think it's game on now. If he can get around.
Bring it on to the checkered here.
Stage 1 to Josh Berry. Stage 2, A.J. Allmendinger. His first stage victory of the year.
Like the clip earlier, we get a mention here of both Jade Buford and Sage Karam, but this time there's no enthusiasm, even though it's the final lap of a stage. I'm not cherry-picking here either. Alexander does exactly the same thing in exactly the same race on the final lap of stage 1.
Noah Gragson swept the 2 stages a couple of weeks ago at Las Vegas. Won 1 of the 2
Oh, Josh Berry's going to pull a bottom side draft to win the stage.
Stage 1 here at the line. It's his teammate, Josh Berry, who wins the opening stage. He just laid in the weeds and then got him.
Here you see how Alexander's easygoing pace causes him to get outflanked by the action. You can see Josh Berry setting up Gragson for a last lap, last corner pass, but instead Alexander's rambling about Gragson's season as if he stopped paying attention to call the number 9 home. What's further frustrating is that he doesn't own it, even when Logano and Keselowski were trying to grab his attention. This reminded me so much of the 1984 Firecracker 400, where Sam Posey did the same thing as Richard Petty was fighting for his 200th win.
This is an interesting rule situation, Jim. You are allowed to race to the line once the yellow has come out. Cale Yarborough did that. Richard Petty is counterattacking. This may be the race that we're looking at here as they sweep up into traffic. A highly dangerous situation.
Coming down the front straight. Here they are, Sam. They will come across the yellow line just about together, but Petty had the lead. By the nose of the car, Richard Petty was just in front of Cale Yarborough as they came across the line.
Good thing that other guy was there, right? Now, I'm not expecting a broadcaster to scream at every moment like they're watching a movie trailer for the first time. In fact, I think Formula One shows there's a clear ceiling as much as there is a floor.
Keep in mind, he won here at Daytona in the Camping World Truck Series, so he understands success in the draft.
And he is keeping the lead as well. His first sector, a 10th up on Lewis Hamilton. It's taken him.
The happy medium is a sustained excitement for what is presently happening. That way, you're always looking forward to what may happen next.
In the thick of it, a whole lot of double wide racing from about the 20th spot on back, and there they are. Gordon is 20th, right in the midst of all that. There he drops to the inside on the left of your screen, number 24.
Followed by the number 1 car. That's a battle for position. Third, fourth, and Chad Little. Chad is having one of his best races ever in this series.
Who cannot, I wouldn't think, go the distance from here. He pitted at lap 188. Tony did. Jeff Gordon pitted at 189. Some of those guys probably cannot go the distance.
Surprised to see Ward Burton back in the middle of this group there. The gold and black car in the middle of it, the 22 machine.
Yeah, he had been really fast in the happy hour session, and they thought they had a great car for today, but so far it hasn't shown a whole lot.
Sounding bored tells us there's nothing presently happening. You are signaling to us that you are waiting. Waiting for a crash, waiting for a stage to end, waiting for it to be over. Some of this could perhaps be blamed on NASCAR and the way in which both races and the championships are decided. But the fact of the matter is, it's still a problem when you're broadcasting a race. You may be able to get away with sounding bored in baseball or football, where there's a break between plays, but in NASCAR, something is always happening, even under caution. Now, maybe I should give Alexander the benefit of the doubt in this particular case. Maybe he was only watching the screen instead of the track. He shouldn't have been, but let's suppose he was, or that the sun was glaring off the screen so he couldn't see it very well. Looking at this clip again, notice how he cut between 3 different shots from turn 4 to the finish line. In the first 2, the leaders disappear out of view entirely. Why not use a continuous shot to better see the pass happening? As I said earlier, Mike Joy pointed out that this is the responsibility of the broadcast director, not the folks in the booth. And the fact is that this director also decides which shots to use and even the storylines to follow. So now, let's examine this person's role in these broadcasts.
We salute each and every one of those behind the scenes that make Fox NASCAR a possibility every weekend.
This year, Fox Sports has rightfully earned criticism for its camera work and for constantly missing what's happening. The recent races at Richmond exemplified this. During the XFINITY race, a side-by-side battle relied too heavily on onboard shots, which made it hard to see how each was setting the other up. In the Cup race, differing tire strategies should have been a clear indication to focus on intervals and make clear who we were supposed to watch make a rally. Instead, everything was presented as if it couldn't have been anticipated, like it was a surprise. Even Mike Joy's call suffered as a result.
Now that's Towner, Denny Hamlin.
We heard.
Checkered flag for Hamlin.
The problem in these cases was an overuse of what I like to call trick shots, camera angles that look cool, but at the cost of making it harder to figure out what's actually happening. A combination of quick cuts, ridiculous zooms, and entirely too much added movement. By far the worst offender is this shot, which is used over and over again, especially on super speedways, where cars maneuvering through tight traffic is the entire point of the racing. NBC is just as guilty here. Check out these clips of them spamming the same angle for 2 straight laps.
There, Christopher Bell trying to look to the inside just a little bit. Corey LaJoie in that 7 car finished top 3, or top. Martin Truex Jr.
going to see out of Corey LaJoie, and it's unusual. Every single plate race he's done in his Cup 2 stages, just take care of the car, get to the end. He told me today, the team told him, go for it. Go as hard as you want, go try and win this thing.
This year, Fox seemed to be catching on to this, and has started holding the shot in place to let the cars speed by. It's still not the most useful shot, but in HD you can at least pick out who's running where. Where cameras are positioned and how they move is something I've been harping on since 2013, when I made a series of videos comparing the camera angles in current races to those from the past. When showing footage from the same track, it was harder to tell what was happening in the 2013 races, even though these were shot in high definition. Again, link in the description if you want to see these and other examples. This brings us to the Atlanta race, and what made it particularly heinous was how often the camera was pointed at things other than the racing. Under caution on lap 107, FS1 caught sight of this.
Yikes. Oh, we have a hauler that tried to go through the tunnel.
The little tunnel.
Oh, that gets somebody every year here at Atlanta. That's another
the
caution.
Backside tunnel. You can't do that.
That's not a composite body right there. You know what I mean? That one's not going to pop out.
Parts of it was. It's definitely not anymore.
Now, to be fair, this is a bizarre situation that was at least somewhat related to the race.
And we'll just make sure we stay in front of you the whole time. That is good info, and it's almost like the 19's leading them.
Saw the hauler driving away that had his own accident here in the tunnel in Atlanta. Oof, that one is expensive.
Yeah,
I know it was
how
a
do you
T-motor.
explain that one to your boss?
I was going to say, I don't want to make that phone call.
You see what had
First
happened
off,
was...
I'm okay.
the vehicle, not so much.
The second clip of the hauler was also warranted, because it did show the driver was okay and that the truck has backed out of the tunnel. I'd even say it was a good callback. At this point, the story was resolved, and there was no reason to give it any further coverage. The guy went into the wrong tunnel. That's it. And now, kids!
Model driver. He's also a winner in the opening stage. Stage 2 coming up on a great day in Atlanta.
Now, I get what they're going for here. Showing kids tells parents the sport is family friendly, so they feel comfortable bringing their families to the track. I still insist this does nothing for the kids themselves. You think kids want to go to Disneyland because they see other kids are there? Of course not. They want to see Mickey Mouse. I'm pretty sure kids were just as irritated when, right from the very start, FS1 showed shot after shot of all these kids. By the end of the race, frankly, it got out of hand. Nowhere was this more evident than from this moment, which came after the conclusion of Stage 2.
Like a glove, and we've got this all cleaned up.
We have
going to break.
shake.
It was bake and shake, but I think they did they swap sides to make it shake and bake? Evidently not.
Oh, here we go. They stopped dancing, but we do think they switch sides to shake and bake. Have a good time, girls. I got 2 young girls. I totally understand.
Now, before I go any further, I want to make one thing very clear. I have no problem with this family. These kids were at their first race and had a great time. Heck, the fact that they were there was probably because they saw kids on some other broadcasts. The problem, which these kids and this family had absolutely nothing to do with, is the director made these kids into a storyline.
And you know what? I've got to hire that guy. And that Rick Hendrick said that's what he did. Right after that, he made a call to Jeff Gordon and his management team.
But when you're doing it, anticipating overtime, they're going to be challenged when we come back.
And when Adam Alexander played along with it, you suddenly had nobody watching the race. And yes, as a direct result of both these decisions, things were getting missed during the final stage.
Under caution for the 6th time today here at Atlanta, and the reason for the yellow flag, the one of Sam Mayer, he had a tire issue that put him a lap down. And I saw the caution come out. I'm like, wow, he's going to get the lap back. And then I realized he was the reason for the caution, so there will be no free pass. This is the best angle we have of him sliding through the grass, heading forward.
To get loose right there, that means you had a flat tire.
Yep.
Yeah, car shouldn't be spinning out right there. Something definitely went wrong when you see him rolling in without a left rear tire on the car.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Spun out down the straightaway.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's hanging on here.
Things got so bad, frankly, the broadcast almost fell apart.
Off track. There are certain tunnels that do not welcome the 18-wheelers.
You know what's horrible about this whole thing? It's a mistake. I get it. We all made dumb mistakes. I've done plenty myself. But the fact that we got to keep bringing it up on national television.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
You know, tomorrow we'll have race day on FS1.
They'll talk about it then, too.
Clint Boyer is going to say to Chris Myers, put it out.
Oh, yeah.
We did have somebody go through the infield here. We actually are not sure how that happened. That was after the caution. So you see a splitter that was laying in the infield.
Yeah, how did that happen?
Oh, extended yellow.
When I first saw it, I thought it was debris off the truck. Then I realized where it was. I'm like,
look at the shake and bake girls. Now they went from Talladega Nights to Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt.
Twins or no? I would say twins.
I think so.
No, definitely a height difference.
I don't know, man.
You got 2 girls.
I'm saying,
I guess you would know.
One of the worst things you can do is tell 2 girls they're twins. So,
Jamie, I think you and Regan should wear shake and bake T-shirts next week on Pit Road. What do you think?
Now you're getting a little crazy, Adam. A little crazy. I'll tell you, there's one driver in this field that's not a lot older than those girls. Ty Gibbs.
Quite a leap.
Line of the day. Line of the day.
Talk about a day he has had. Got shuffled all the way back after, pit road issue. Then he's all the way back up to second. Papa coach Joe Gibbs just came off the pit box, and they told his driver, remember what we said, you are never out of an Xfinity race. We have a chance today. Don't give up yet.
Hey, that takes me to, since we have a little time here talking about young drivers, the last 10 races in the Cup Series, Dayton to Talladega in the fall when Bubba Wallace got his first career victory. Last 10 races at the Cup level, won by a driver in their 20s. As a couple of guys that have already hit 30 and beyond.
What are you trying to say, Adam?
What do you two have to say about? Well,
come on. I got a sticker in the car that says that. Come on.
I won the duels. I mean, that was something,
that
right?
should count something too. Hey, you guys are altering this.
So
to make it sound better.
So defensive.
Come on now.
Yeah.
One for the old guys.
Well, it sounds like we might have a shot of what happened. It was under yellow, and there was a spin after the wreck.
Is that?
Oh, here we go.
Oh, that was a la Josh Berry last year, right? About the same spot.
Yeah.
Dug up some turf. Couldn't tell who that was. Maybe Anthony Alfredo. Couldn't tell who that white car might have been.
I tell you, they put the turf in at Charlotte, and same people own this racetrack. It'd be great if we can get some turf on this one too.
Yeah.
Especially after the repave.
That makes a big difference.
Just trying to do that.
That was almost as subtle as Blaney requesting pizza a couple of weeks ago in Las Vegas.
Very obvious of what it would be.
Well, it's still laying down there, as you can tell.
There they go.
Parts and pieces.
Well, I just saw the truck pull down, and I think they're going to get it now. AMR safety team is on it. You mentioned Josh Berry. Regan talked about this off the top. That was incredible.
That's last year.
Yeah.
He pulled a heck of a wheel stand.
Impressive, really.
I bet that scared the crap out of him.
Yes.
The front tires come that far off the ground out of nowhere.
Well, as someone who's been down the front stretch here in Atlanta with the wheels off the ground, I can tell you, it's not a good feeling.
I bet you're right.
Barry running 16th today. Listen to some of these drivers just in front of him in the running order. Stephen Parsons, 15th, driving the 99 for B.J. McLeod. Tommy Joe Martins is up there, and the shake and bake thing just will not go away.
Graphics department here is having a little fun.
There's so much wrong here, so let's break it down. First of all, why are they showing the truck again? As Joey Logano pointed out, they're making too much of it. Remember Steve Bartman? This is the same network he has to thank for that. Take it from somebody who follows up with the last place finisher when he's at the track. At some point, the story is over. The window closes and you're not going to get any more information. Have the common sense to walk away and focus your efforts elsewhere. When you decide to cover something during a race, you are missing something else. And when you're staying there too long, you're missing even more. Second, how do you miss a car ramping onto the grass and ripping off the splitter directly in front of the booth? Especially in a broadcast that featured multiple replays of Josh Berry doing the exact same thing at the exact same track at almost the exact same spot just a year before. I only heard on social media that this was Loris Heseman's car. I still don't know for sure if that was even the case. And good job once again trying to save face, but I'm not buying it. How could you even think for a moment that that debris came off the truck on the other side of the track? This just shows how distracted they were about that whole truck situation. Absolutely ridiculous. Third, when Alexander and the director both discover that they've missed something significant, why are they back to the shake and bake girls again and still talking about them? Why not check with the pit road reporters to find out what happened on the front stretch? Surely one of them saw it. I'm sure Jamie Little did. But by now, it's all shake and bake all the time. Jamie is an excellent pit reporter, but unfortunately, even she gets caught up in this silliness too, and we're all of a sudden off to talking about Ty Gibbs. The story's dropped completely. Now again, to be fair, shots of fans in the stands are nothing new. Sometimes they add to the drama of the race. Showing kids isn't new either. In 1992, ESPN did a whole sketch with children before a race in North Wilkesboro.
Hey, isn't that Davy Allison? Where? Right over there.
There's also more latitude for a broadcast to get a little silly during a rain delay, because quite frankly, there's nothing happening.
Well, it wasn't the TV guide.
We thought it was for the TV listings, but they wanted
on the back here.
only in Dallas to see this on the back page.
Harvick dropped this off for you, DW. We just want you to know.
In case you're shopping.
Highly recommended for what?
But you see, therein lies the problem. All this focus on the shake and bake girls and the damaged hauler at Atlanta wasn't during a rain delay. It was during an ongoing race. Not only that, but during a highly anticipated race at a newly reconfigured track specifically redesigned to make the racing more exciting. By both showing and sounding uninterested in what was actually happening, and by being this relentlessly goofy for no real reason, both the announcer and director were conveying that the race was boring. And that's something NASCAR, of all sports, cannot afford to allow. What's the biggest criticism that NASCAR gets from those outside the sport? It's just cars going around in circles. Well, if you do a slipshod job with the play-by-play, that's all you're left with. A broadcast like the XFINITY race in Atlanta is unacceptable. Sounding like you're bored in the booth is unacceptable. And pointing the camera up Ryan Blaney's nose during a close race for position is unacceptable. I'm sure I'm upsetting these analysts and the director for being so blunt, but frankly, the feelings of professionals aren't nearly as important to me as ensuring this sport is portrayed in the best possible light. The stakes are simply too high, especially as the sport begins to see its first real growth in years. And that's the good news. All of this can be fixed, and easily. That's why I harp on this so much, and why I made those stupid, terrible broadcast videos. All the pieces are there to make a great broadcast. You may not need to replace any of the announcers, the director, the networks, anyone. It just takes a little more effort in just the right places, a little more focus, a little more research, a little more excitement. And I know these networks have it in them because rather than do any of this, they pour all their effort into making the sport look like a joke.
Why has the 54 car won 6 of the last 7 races on mile-and-a-half tracks? Start at the show car 54. Where are you? The show aired before Bonanza. Also a Bonanza. Studio 54. Located in New York City in the late 1970s.
Being a TV analyst is the most prestigious media role in sports. It is the cushiest job with the best view of the track and the best perks. Being the director is less glamorous, but every bit as critical when it comes to showcasing the sport, simply because how much power they have over what you actually see. You're basically putting on a feature film and doing it live. And rest assured, there are hundreds, if not thousands of people who would give almost anything for just one shot of being either of these people, never mind a chance at a career. When these jobs are done poorly, it is an insult to those who will never get that chance. Professionals should never rest on their laurels, or even give the impression that they are. Their duty is to always pursue excellence. They don't have to achieve it, but damn it, they have to try. And if that's ever going to happen, it's going to take a little humility and accepting that there is still work to be done. So tell me what you think in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Is there something I missed? Good news for some of you, this is probably going to be the last episode I'm going to do in this series, unless something really exceptional happens again. So stay tuned for more NASCAR history content in the near future. And as always, thank you for watching, and special thanks to the members of my Patreon.
In America, there exists a sport that is driven by the fans. They are why everyone works so hard, on the teams and at the tracks, in front of the grandstands and behind the scenes, to give the fans the greatest race possible. NASCAR fans deserve the best, starting from the high banks of Daytona, all the way to the shores of California, and at every race in between. NASCAR fans, you're the reason for our success. Thanks.